We have a great show today with Leonora Simonovis. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Derek Kannemeyer. Derek will read first, and then Leonora. Derek Kannemeyer was born in Cape Town, raised in London, and has spent most of his working life in Richmond, Virginia. His publications since 2019 include the poetry collections Found Voices, You Go In by the Gate That Isn't There, and Mutt Spirituals, the light verse ones, Scatter Shots, and A Beast, Betta Bestiary, plus a novel and 4-act play. Kirsten Reviews listed his photography, nonfiction work, Unsay Their Names, about the fall from grace of Richmond's lost cause statues, as one of their 100 best indie books of 2022. Its photographs were the featured fall 2021 exhibition at the Black History Museum of Virginia. Here's a superb poet, Derek Kannemeyer.
Thank you. I unmuted myself. Thank you so much, Harry. Thank you so much, Creative Chaos team. Thank you for inviting me. On which topic, thank you also to Joanne Durham, who passed my name on and whose Poetry Hour with Mary Kay Rummel I so enjoyed. Anyway, I'm going to start with selections from my first full-length collection, Mutt Spirituals. The Mutt has multiple meanings. If you look at the cover, you can see there's a picture of maybe you can't see, but there's a picture of a dog there, and there's a lot of dog imagery, but mostly it's about my makeup. The book is a lot about identity, and I am a mutt in most senses. I'm mixed race, thoroughly mixed race, 40% European, 40% Asian, 20% African by genome, a typical Cape-colored mix. And I'm also, by cultural history, I was born in South Africa, but I was raised in London, then I moved to France, and then I came to the US. So it's about finding your identity as a mutt. A lot of the work is autobiographical, and I'll read just a few pieces to kind of introduce myself to you. I do write a lot of family poems and a lot of memory poems about the slipperiness of memory. And this first poem in the book is both. The first poem is called First. Baby sister, my first clear memory is of sitting on a sofa with Michael, our big brother, next to me, you perhaps 6 months old, across our laps. And since we both want to be who has and cradles you, we pull and drop you, and you smack the floor. Memory isn't to be trusted. I know that memory isn't to be trusted, is sometimes no more than the plausible heart's desire to tell our stories over till we matter. But I think this one is true, for the sharpness of my shame and fear as you go bump still hurts in me, like something true and secret. And I think that you should know that in the loving and the hurting of you, we may have been your first. So my first 6 years were in South Africa, and I'm going to move on to one South Africa poem. It was a happily innocent time for me, actually, because I was so young, and we were actually pretty well off. Our difficult years didn't come till we moved to England, but I was born during the first years of the apartheid regime, and things were changing. When the Separate Group Areas Act came, our area of Cape Town was declared whites only, and we would be forced to move. And my father was questioned by the police about his associations, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we fled to the United Kingdom. The next poem is about my memories of an uneasy relationship with one of the white kids on our block just before we left. And his name was Ralph, and this is about remembering Ralph, and it's called Casting the First Stone. You again, Ralph. A boy my age, blonde, head bobbing above the garden wall as you trail your father by our house on Vine Street. Behind you, Table Mountain sprawls its celestial arm. My father leans into his shovel. I plump my pail with dirt. Clay skins slop around my toes. As you pass, you screw your pig eyes smaller. Your hands cup your ears and wiggle at me, the fat pink worms that are your fingers. Your pink tongue lolls and pokes. What you never looked long enough to notice is how I am molding my toss of earth into a slop-brown fist. When I remember this now, it's from a curious angle, seeing us both. The same two faces, one smug, one smutched with hurt and shame. Each time my ball of dirt smacks off your stupid crown, our faces flip. Years later, I met someone I might have turned to had we stayed. He listed the humiliations our people suffered daily, segued to guns, the coming slaughter. I heard little but the words, our people, having forgotten that I had a people I had ever had. I told this tale, how I was 6, how the delight that filled me held no malice. It was the truth of my aim that thrilled me. He smiled. He guessed he was once that innocent. My first stone was my last. We fled. Vine Street became whites only. If sometimes still my anger startles me, what you see me here struggling with, this cocked arm and its hardening of turned earth, has less, yet it does, to do with innocence or guilt, with blame and its pat answers, than it has with gravity, with the first felt weight of world. You showing me my place in it, me putting you in yours. Baby boy, my wrestler angel, whatever could wash our clay hands clean of us. Earth locks us by hard turns in its round embrace. So at 6, I came with my family to London, and we were part of that first generation of post-war Commonwealth immigrants who helped to turn London and the United Kingdom into the multicultural country that it is today, about which there is a lot to say, but I'm only going to read one poem from those 19 years, and it's not really a political poem. It's more about being an awkward teenager. So this is called For Desdemona, tonight appearing in the role of Iago. How many enchanted evenings do we get? The look across the crowded room, love at first sight, if we want it. And who at what age who's read the book could trust such an offer? Too young, too not yet you, too hip, too wronged, too knowing. Like with the girl at the theatre party. Red hair and something strapless, her skin cool as vanilla, and the quick, clear weight of gaze, its calm intelligence, the half smile that says how thoroughly amusing in its small way this all is. You there, you look as if you might be quite the most amusing. Come talk with me. And since you're now 19, just reckless enough to make a stab, and because she looks like Maggie Smith as Desdemona, and you the darkest boy in town, you come, you talk, and rather than hello and what's your sign, have launched into Othello. Act 1, line 1, both parts, Iago, Roderigo. Tush, never tell me, I take it much unkindly that thou, Iago, hast had my purse, as if the strings were thine, shouldst know of this. 'S blood, but you will not hear me, etc. 2 thundering pages. And then, oh wonder, where you stop, she starts right in. Iago's whole next speech, a little naughty pause at whip me, such honest knaves. Or perhaps that was just your heart not beating. And not boastfully or grandly, but with an ease and tease of impishness to clutch the breath. Now, were not you two made for one another? You the Moor, and she the girl you would come to strangle? Just as well, no doubt, in perfect unison to half smile, nod, and turn, you to find some place to breathe again, she bare shouldering away into the fog of revelers, and to never learn each other's name, or to speak one line in either character love meant you for, the two too perfect to be trusted, until too safely late, safe home abed, not meaning any harm, wherein perchance to dream of sweet Iago's lips, her arms, her throat, and peck. You know, I had a set list, and the thing about set lists is I never stick to them. So, you know, I had in mind that I was going to switch now to two poems about my wife. After college, I moved to France for a couple of years, and there I met and fell in love with an American girl who, after another year in London, said, "I'm going home. Are you coming?" And so I ended up in Virginia, and I was going to read a love poem which I wrote at 27, then one at 70 to kind of, you know, I don't know, give the span of my life in Virginia. But instead, I'm going to close with just one poem, and this is still kind of a love poem, but it also has dog imagery in it, which, having raised it, I thought I should do it. Anyway, I found it. It's called Gimme, and this, I think, is from my 50s. Give me clutter. Give me this book-strewn room, these bookshelves, bright geometries. Give me this paunch-perched novel and this quilt of yellows, 2 plates of grape and cheese toast plunked across 3 stacks of magazines, these tea mugs coasted on the sports section and yesterday's junk mail. Give me this sheaf of poems, 55 lines per page, long breaths scrabbling for the right-hand margin, white space fighting for its sunlight. Give me sunlight in picture windows scribbled with the branches of a dogwood tree. Give me dogwood blossom and cable lines and sparrows on phone wires, the shriek of squirrels and chipper-chat of mockingbirds. Give me goldfinches in the grass unmown, a cardinal's red splash over 7 hues of green. Give me jonquils blooming in the weeds and primulas in the herb garden. Give me the ragtime blues yelp of the yard dogs, the mailman's yawp yowl house band huffing gruffly into distance. Give me this day off with so much to do, gone scattering on our 19 missions, that way the Camry, this the Plymouth. Jostle and jink me through the clogged road snuffle, cross me these lights on amber, a quarter for the toll bucket, the change of lanes and shift to fifth. Give me this mixed tape I can wail with. Give me your car, I can wail with. The groceries bought, the bills posted, the book order picked up. Give me your car pulled up behind me. Give me this peck at the door, this smooch inside the hallway, these hands, this face, this futon, this lounged-in house, this cat that meows and nuzzles to be let loose on the world. Give me this hopped-up heart, this gabbing tongue, this mess of nerves and ganglia and lungs, those teeth, these us, this dusk, that moon, this life. I'll switch now to a second book. Let me see. Beta Bestiary, or Beta Bestiary. It was written as a just for fun A to Z browsing book, pairing creature factoids with 150 so very short creature poems, almost all 4-liners. One reviewer actually focused on the factoids and said the poems are ornamental to them, but what I'm going to share is a half alphabet of just poetry. 13 quatrains, each beginning with a different letter of the alphabet. B is for bee. Bee, bee, bee. Bee, bee the spring, with air pellets of buzz and bling. Be bright with pollen, fetch and freight. Be verb, go forth and conjugate. C is for cobra. Do cobras make good pets? It's risky. Mine hovers forked-tongued near my whiskey. If he were drunk, or I were sober, I might not greatly trust my cobra. F is for firefly. The fireflies are out tonight. They flit and fleck the lawns with light. I've scores of chores to prioritize. But first, I'll watch the fireflies. H is for hedgehog. Our cousin Fred finds hedgehogs dieting on his lawn, which is disquieting when you're a nudist. So when Fred jogs, it's watch out toes and watch out hedgehogs. L is for locust. As one, they shift their edgy weight to swarm and swoop and vegetate, till all our green world is locust, raucous, rapacious, grimly focused. M is for mosquito. Only female mosquitoes bite, by the way. Mistress Mosquito likes to huddle between my clothes and skin and cuddle. She wants my bud. She thinks I'm neato. This love's not mutual, mosquito. R is for raven, or never mind. I met a raven on the wing. Alas, it didn't quoth a thing. I fear the sober, coiffed and shaven don't much interest a raven. S is for succubus. Young man, beware of succubi. Don't let she-devils pluck you by your exposed parts. It's not dream sex if it's with demons. Or an ex. It being just after Halloween, I'm going to include several Halloween-y quatrains now. It also being election day today, there's also this next one, which is a political one. I don't know if people still wear presidential masks at Halloween, but I used to own both a Bill Clinton mask and a George W. mask, and I found them both amusing. I can't imagine ever calming down enough about Donald Trump to find a Donald Trump mask even mildly amusing. But anyway, this is called T is for troll. At Halloween, a troll might ask, might I be spookier in a mask? I'm uglier, I'm hairier, so why is that orange-tinged guy scarier? U is for unicorn. The unicorn evades all traps, all lures, except for virgins' laps. He'll lay his horn there to be petted. Great glorious work if you can get it. V is for vampire. Vampires seem to believe that sex is mostly soul-gazing and necks. But crypt breath, bat skin, fangs? Count Dracula, your vampire charms ain't that spectacular. W is for werewolf. The werewolf is just a normal dude who, when the full moon hits, strips nude, lets down his hair, howls, and gets feral. There's something about the werewolf. Werewolf. Z is for zombie. The U in this one is a school kid soccer player. One wrong bite, you could be a zombie. Then next peck, so would your soccer mom be. The puckering of your soccer lips would power the zombie apocalypse. Okay, I do write a lot of light verse, and I do write a lot of serious verse too. How am I doing? I have no idea. So anyway, I'm going to switch now to actually, I'll skip the next one. I have no idea how I'm doing for time, so I'm going to skip ahead. My favorite book is probably Found Voices, but which is a book of which I can't show. So I'm going to skip the next two books to get to the last one. Yeah. So my favorite one is probably that. But every poem in there, I mean, my favorite poems are all about 12 minutes long. In it, it's all long dramatic monologues. And so I'm going to skip right to the latest book, which is actually more light verse, and do what I have to. So anyway, page 57. Let me see. Yeah, so I'm going to start, as I said, election day, and I've already voted today. So sorry, but I'm going to get political again. First part of this first appeared in the journal Rigorous as because he just won't go away. But Donald Trump continued not to go away, so I changed the title in November 24 to a November prayer, and that didn't work either. Okay, so anyway, this is a sonnet. Divest him of everything that is bluster, of the proofs he trumpets without naming, of the beautiful plans he promises and can't muster. Denude him of the sycophants who swell the echo chamber of his sneers and of his blaming, tolling his toxins as their temple bell. Unvarnishes every lie, Lord, of its big man luster, to double talk, double down on, the hard sell of nothing multiplied by nothing, which is nothing. Scrub his every orifice of the murderous whiny insinuations with which he fans his minions' loathing, until lo, stripped of the smoke blowing from his hiney, the man who would be emperor has no clothing, and lo, his wiener is tiny. And this one was written when, after watching him say the name Barack Hussein Obama, to emphasize his, anyway, it's very short. Barack Hussein Obama, sneers Don, who's insane Trump. What's in a name? Your mama, to Donald on the stump. His middle name's American, so he's no need to blush. He's John, like hangs with hookers, or don't forget to flush. Sorry for being so political, but it's just an election day and it's on my head. About 50 of the poems in this book are limericks. Here are 3 of them. A bulimic nail-biter named Claire, having bitten her fingertips bare, kept niddling on till her knuckles were gone as she threw up both hands in despair. A high windows washer from Fiji had put too much soap on his squeegee. He whoosh, hit a bush, crotch first, and then tush, and now he can sing like a Bee Gee. I think the earth's doomed, Dad, sighs Jesus. Pollution, war, global diseases. Should we underbuckle it? Or watch and eat chocolate? Let's watch, says God. See if hell freezes. I'm going to close with March of the Creepy Crawlies. A lot of insect poems here, and lots of poems. There are about 50 poems about more animal poems, but they're all about animals which begin with the letter C. March of the Creepy Crawlies. Down the drain, beyond the wall is the domain of creepy crawlies. At the yard's edge, an alert dung beetle guards its smudge of dirt. Plants and soils and streams and creeks teem and roil with ants and ticks. From the floor joists just below, a feeler foists a tippy toe. No frontier we gravely draw binds one earwig to our law. Almost anywhere it all is, first the lair of creepy crawlies. About the thin disputed zone of our skin, mosquitoes drone, fleas lean in to take our pulse. The forelegs preed, the jaws convulse. From locked drawers, antique wardrobes, hardwood floors emerge microbes. Dust mites lurk in a lost wallet. Bookworms work their way through Smollett. Mealybugs infest the flour. A long legs lugs into the shower. Cockroaches flock into our kitchen to lick and poach, antennae twitching. When I see a silverfish, all I flee and all I wish for that stark second sears my soul, and darkness beckons from its hole. What's that pitters, skitters from us scattering? Tiny critters pitter-pattering. In the corner of a crate, 8-legged fauna fornicate. In warm earth, fierce cuneiform smears give birth, and swarm, clothes moths, termites, lice larvae rise, go forth, and multiply, till Dow's once best insecticides, household spiders' nests inside, and almost anywhere at all is first the lair of creepy crawlies. A caked muck's team from sleep's once cusp dreams me awake. What hunts? Once us. In the lawless dark I hear creepy crawlers nudging near. A 6-legged cricket climbs my nose, an 8-legged tick attacks my nose. A centipede feeds at my breast. Another 20 knead my chest, as if preparing now the terms on which they'll share me with the worms. Where we'll spend our final sleep is in the land of crawly creepies. 30 feet beneath this rug, there seethes a silver heat of slugs. In that warp and weft of grass, 2 deft scorpions pit-pat past. In the shadows by the gate, 3 black widows lie in wait. In the attic or the eaves, something vatic weaves and weaves. Thank you.
Derek, thank you for such a transfixing reading. Your poetry touched my heart and also my mind and soul. You know, your poetry is about humanity, family, memory. Your poem to your wife was just so lovely, and your playfulness and inventiveness of language just is supreme. So thank you, and just such a beautiful reading. We're blessed to have you on the show. So thank you. We don't really have much time. We don't have any more time to talk because we have to introduce our next guest. But thank you once again, Derek Kannemeyer.
Thank you, Harry.
Our next poet is Leonora Simonovis. She's a Venezuelan American writer, editor, and educator, and the author of Study of the Raft, winner of the 2021 Colorado Prize for Poetry, and honorable mention at the 2022 International Latino Book Awards. Her work considers the intersections of myth, language, and story in connection to the land and to her experience as an exile. Leonora's poems and essays have been featured in the Poetry Foundation, the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day, About Place Journal, and Amsterdam Review, Whale Road Review, and others. She has been the recipient of fellowships and residencies from the Poetry Foundation, VONA, CalArts, the Vermont Studio Center, Experimento, SUF, Respiro, and Anaphora. Here's a marvelous poet, Leonora Simonovis.
Thank you, Harry. And thank you, Jennifer, and the whole team at Creative Chaos. And I also want to thank Joanne Durham because she was the one who recommended me as well. So thank you, Joanne, wherever you are. Derek, that was such a beautiful reading. Thank you for those poems. And I think as you were reading, I was finding so many connections with my own work about family and about identity and place. So I'm going to read 5 short poems from my first poetry collection, Study of the Raft, which is about my journey as an immigrant, as an exile. They were written in California. I lived in California for almost 2 decades, so that is home for me. And the poems are postcards from everywhere and nowhere. I actually wrote them during the pandemic as I was finishing my collection and trying to find a way to express the isolation, but also the need for communicating what I was feeling at the time. So this is postcards from everywhere and nowhere. Dear cousin, I just landed at the airport, a picture of a ship crowning a wave. A figure on the prow waits, like you on the tarmac looking somewhere ahead. I waved. You didn't wave back. Maybe you couldn't see me. Dear cousin, I chant, I'm home every day. How many times will it take to feel it? The monarchs are starting to cocoon. Do you know if, when they transform, they forget their past? Dear cousin, papers are important in this land. My neighbor told me about Chinese paper sons who invented new identities so they could stay. I think of the paper dolls we played with, how we unfolded each tab of the wedding dress and turned it into confetti. Dear cousin, what happens when your genetic code is grafted in 2 languages? Does it mean the patterns never stop shifting? Yesterday, we had an earthquake in San Diego, and I heard the earth grinding its teeth as if to speak. Dear cousin, my son asked if citizen is a foreign word. I was tempted to say yes. I told him there was once a city whose people were not alien. They belonged. Oh, so where do we belong? He asked. So I'm going to read a couple more poems from this collection, which are, sorry, I'm scrolling. These are my California poems, and I think their theme, wildfires, is very present today. Still life with smoke landscape. California burns stories into ashes. A man picks up a rabbit from the side of a road. A couple watch the flames from inside their swimming pool, hands together in prayer. After the rescue, no one asked if the water was hot or what it felt to be island. People's eyes lock on phone screens while outside rages orange. My kitchen table scratched, 1 vertical line for each life lost. In Julio Cortázar's house taken over, the owners are chased away by voices. Fire can speak, but we'd rather not hear. From my window, I see monarchs fall, wings singed in mid-flight, prayers unanswered. This poem is also about living in California, but it is dedicated to immigrants, all those folks who are living in fear right now. It's called I Am Not Leaving. There is a brittle quality to plant life, a browning that disintegrates to the touch and sticks to the skin. I am not from this land, but off it, the body an unwanted guest. I've learned to ignore the glare of mourning, to read the glyphs of ashes, to groan with a coastal oak. During the summer months, the hawk's quiet, and my oral map feels incomplete, disjointed, yet alert to the smallest glimpse of a fir sprouting in lieu of life, or maybe because of it. A farmer once told me about prescribed burns, and before he explained, I thought of a pharmacy prescription no one would refill, which shows how little I know about it. I've come to understand that in this land, fire consumes to make space for new language, one I cannot speak. So I touch the surfaces around me, whisper incantations, wave my arms above my head, baptize myself with whiskey until my skin begins to peel. And all that is left is the crimson leaves of a maple, the crusty skin of old earth. Under it, all the words at my disposal. I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to read some new poems from a manuscript in progress. And I wish I could give you the elevator pitch for the manuscript, but I'm still trying to figure out what it's all about. So the first 2 poems have to do with aging as a woman and beauty. On beauty. Each month, I feel less muscle mass, less fear of the unknown, less tolerance for bullshit. Shape-shifting woman, bones rearranging in clicks and pops. I never needed to visit the hot springs until now, but the body wants what it needs. Aging, a kind of erosion, a raft downriver diving through a revolving door. Soon, I'll turn into the devil the nuns warned me about. I'll walk away, wings tucked, earthbound, beautiful. This next poem is called Swimmer. I used to be a competitive swimmer, and the transition between going from getting into the pool and being able to do all these laps and just having all this, speed and endurance, and going from there to sort of, okay, take it easy, take a break, was very difficult. Now I've gotten used to it, but it was a process. Swimmer. Lumped into a black one piece, too tight at the bottom, too loose at the top, I notice my soft belly, dimple thighs. Blame it on fluorescent lights, their unflattering shine. Closing my eyes, I recall a younger me, tanned and toned, parting the currents, streamlining my way to shore. This has become my daily ritual, the gaze, the judgment, the reminder, not always in that order. I open my eyes, pull my rubber cap on, ease into the shallow end of the pool. A former student turned lifeguard widens her eyes when she sees me, tries not to stare but still looks me over, squeals a greeting, walks away. I begin knowing I'll lose count, lose myself in the rivers that made me. Orinoco, Caroni, Apure, Chama, Churun. Ancient and mighty, they feed the waters within me. I am still that woman. The next poem is a poem I wrote thinking about my grandmother and great-grandmother. And it's about magic, but not in the way that that it is portrayed on TV. It's called Little Bruja, and it has an epigraph from A Wrinkle in Time. There's nothing left except to try. I tried, believe me, I did, but my cheap Caribou jeans and Buster Brown polos couldn't match the prestige of Levi's, Nikes, Lacoste, worn by my fifth grade classmates who visited Magic Kingdom every summer. There was Claudia with her buttony nose and perfect smile, blonde and green-eyed Caroline. Despite her rumpled clothes, she looked like a queen. And then Federico, who pulled my braids and boasted about meeting Mickey Mouse. I told him mice are dirty, they poop everywhere, will make you sick. You'd know, he sneered. I wished them gone. Abuela had told me about giving mal de ojo to a woman who spoke ill of her. The woman got sick, almost died. One day, Federico fell, pierced his knee on a sharp piece of metal. I whispered in his ear as he wailed, I don't need to go to Magic Kingdom. Magic is in my blood. This next one is from my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother talks about the uses of a machete. Growth is good, but not when it parasites without consent. See how they wrap around the guava tree? I knew a man like that. I told your grandmother about that sister of hers. I am a woman of few words. If I hadn't chased her away, she would have stayed. Back in my pueblo, when I lived alone, I walked to the forest, hacked at brambles and vines to get to the esteros. There are no oceans here. My body craved the lick of water on skin. Every night I sleep with the machete by my side. Better than a husband. More useful too, low maintenance. It protects me, drives the bad spirits away. Fancy prowlers too. I don't believe in honor. Justice is another thing. Martha, Irina, Antonia, women who learned too late, broken bones, split lips, welted skins. There are things you can't hide, least of all from yourself. Martha's husband left, right arm barely hanging from its socket. I caught him. Wish I hadn't spooked the horse. He was a fine animal. I'm old now, don't need it. Your grandmother's afraid the stories it whispers. You can decide for yourself. Grasp until the handle warms in your palm. If you want it, it's yours. one of my main memories of home is the little frogs. They're called coquis in Puerto Rico, but I don't know what we call them. We always call them little frogs. And they just sing at night. And that sound, every time I travel somewhere and I hear that, I just have this memory of being in my grandmother's house and trying to find them at night. So this is, can you still hear them? I've never asked if you can also hear them in your dreams. If, like me, you wonder how the voice of one less coquille upsets the whole choir. Once, Mother beckoned from the far side of the patio, palm open, a speckled brown frog the size of her thumbnail staring up at her. This little one has the power to call night into being, to keep fear away. She put the frog on my palm, belly moist, smooth, pulse quicker than my own. I wanted to keep them, but didn't. Every afternoon, I'd go back to see if they'd appear. Mostly, they sang and sang into the night. Now, as they disappear one by one, I call my aunts just to hear them in the background. Faint, but still there. Okay, I have 3 more poems to read. And a couple of them are about living in exile and longing. And then I'll talk about the last one when I read it. Voyage. I never asked for a tether, and yet here I am, unwinding, my body a restless landmass, boundaries blurring and shifting. To remember what is gone, my homeland, my friend, the archive of my mother's heart. Outside, the ice cracks and groans, dendrites scatter every thought. Is there a method to absence? Once you told me water cleanses and sets you free. I believed you, still do. There's so much I have forgotten. Names of places, people, landmarks. ¿Cómo se dice? I asked my brother, but he's forgetting too. Is that what you meant when you wrote to me all those years ago? I'm thinking of you. I hope you find the time to grieve. It's April. It's cold. I miss you. Lorca Revisited. After a 2-year drought, the city's membranes thicken, become hazy. This poem should be called Waiting for Petrichor, but I never liked Beckett that much. A flood of biblical proportions, says the newscaster. I wouldn't go so far. When I visited Rio de Janeiro, the streets disappeared under a deluge for 24 hours. It wasn't biblical, just tropical and wondrous. When it rains, people look for shelter, water, an undesirable partner. It's not easy to see body as home. I think of Federico and his Romance Sonambulo, of the gypsy woman in love, waiting, waiting. She let the water take her, the river as lover. Green is death, according to critics. Tropical plants would disagree. It's easy to get lost in technicalities, to science the natural cycles of life. Because I live in the desert, I always think in green. Green is longing, home in sounds of verde. And my very last poem is actually about San Diego, where I used to live. I got to know the city very well. And I always had a hard time when people who didn't live there would tell me what the city was like when I would drive through it every day and go to work and take my children to school. And so this poem is called What You See, What I Know. August. Another tourist gushes about Mission Beach, Ocean Beach, the zoo and safari park, the endless rows of palm trees. Aren't they marvelous? Yes, and what lives in the cracks is also beautiful. El Cajon Boulevard, where, after lunch with a student, I find the bottom part of a cow's leg, hairs and all, next to my car. where a grandmother leaves the market holding a live chicken by the legs, where near 54th, a small group of students haggles goods on the sidewalk. Stolen or not, someone will eat today. 2 blocks away, 3 policemen handcuff an unhoused man while a crowd watches in silence. Everything permeated by the smell of fish fried in coconut oil, asada, lumpias, smog, rosemary, and sage from the Botanica. This is the city I've come to know and love, the one with people who learn to adapt, resist, belong. Transplants, like the palm trees. Flocks of parrots, roof rats, and crows find shelter within their crowns. The unwanted, the too loud, the bad omens. Atop the palm's green fronds, they make home. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonora, for such a radiant reading of your poetry. You know, you talk about strength, the courage, and your poetry has vulnerability and authenticity. You talk about place and love, and it's just fabulous. So thank you very much. Yeah, I love San Diego too. I lived there for a year when I was in the Navy. That was in 1958, 59. But let me ask you a couple of questions. When did you write your first poem?
Oh gosh. I don't remember. I mean, I know that when I went to middle school in Connecticut, in New Haven, and I participated in a contest with my class. And my mother, before she passed away, she had saved the little booklet that we put together for me. I was probably 11 or 12. But I know I wrote before that. I was an artist. I used to draw and paint a lot as a kid. And I used to recite poems because my mom was a fan of doing that. And so just listening to her, I would just learn them and then recite them. So I think sound came before the writing itself.
And what is it that attracts you to poetry?
I think poetry is so precise. You can say so many things with just one word or, in a line. It really touches the heart in a way that I think fiction and nonfiction don't or can't. And it's so reliant on sensory details and sound and all this beautiful craft elements that we can't help but be drawn into it. Or there are poems that we read and we're like, nope, this is not for me. But either way, they're causing a response, which is what they're supposed to do.
Well, you're just great. Derek, why don't you come on the screen, if you will, and then all three of us can talk. And what I would like is for each one of you to talk a little bit about each other's poetry. And since Leonora just finished, why don't you say something about Derek's poetry, then Derek say something about Leonora. Oh my gosh, excuse me. Golly, Leonora, if that's correct. Forgive me, my
it's okay.
my speech.
Okay.
You both touch me so deeply. But go ahead, Leonora.
Yeah, Derek. I loved the way your images. Like I'm thinking about the first set of poems you read. Right. And there's so much imagery there, so many visual elements. I could picture myself in the places that you were recalling. I could see myself in front of the people that you were talking about. It was so beautiful. And those memories are so important for sort of grounding into your identity, right? And knowing where you belong and honoring your roots and the places you come from and the people you come from. Yeah. And I also admire the humor in I can't do that. I try, but my humor is so dark. I'm like so cynical. So when I was listening to you read your critter poems and then, your humorous poems, I thought, oh, this is so cool. Like I'm listening and I'm laughing and I'm sort of also like savoring the sounds. I mean, you had all those rhymes, like end rhymes, but also internal rhyme in your poems. And I just felt like transported and actually to my childhood and reading poems like that and being delighted by them. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for saying that, Leonora. Yeah, no, obviously we connect very much on the theme of
Yes.
racial identity and transplant, also moving away and moving around. And so obviously there was a lot of what I appreciated in your poetry about that callback between countries, and between places. And there's a lot of things which happen in your poems where you are speaking to people who are, directly, sort of like letter writing or contact and stuff like that. And yes, I very much appreciated that as keeping that connection between the places and between the parts of yourself as you go on. And I think that you are actually much better than I am at the sensory image, meaning that because I think in terms of concision, what I'm talking about is that I can get from just a little fragment, which is something that you do in that first set of 5, for example. Those 5 little pieces together, yeah. And that kind of concision I can only do if I'm being funny. which is one of my weaknesses. I like wit, but sort of just sticking with that image and trusting it is something which I really do admire. And then of course the longer narrative pieces I also do. I feel that connection with trying to discover a sense of place, if you like, and your connection to that sense of place. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's wonderful.
Leonora, you talked about exile, being an immigrant, but you certainly are no exile in poetry. And you also said that the magic is in my blood. Well, poetry is in your blood too. And
thank you.
Both of you. I didn't get a chance to ask Derek this question because we ran out of time, but Derek, in about a minute or two, just answer the 2 questions I asked Leonora. When did you write your first poem and what attracts you to poetry?
Okay. I don't know when I wrote my first poem. I suppose I started writing about 15 or 16, but I didn't write anything that I called poetry until I was about 20. I mean, it was terrible, that stuff you wrote in your teens, at least for me. I don't think that but there is stuff which I wrote it about 2021, which I do still like. It's fun. But yeah, the thing I like about poetry as writing it is communion with the self. That it is a kind of prayer mixed with song, and it seems to come from the core of you. In a way which is just absolutely fantastic. But I have always liked reading poetry too. And then I think what I like about that is the communion with somebody else, because there's a real core of that person which comes out in solid poetry. I also like poetry often just purely for music. And a lot of poets who I grew up loving, I loved for music even before meaning. I mean, my first favorite poet was Lewis Carroll, who was writing nonsense, but he does it with a wonderful ear. And that, I think, sort of has never left me, which is why I think I write a lot of light verse too, because it's just a way of playing with sound. And the sound is perhaps more important than the meaning. But anyway, communion and sound, music.
Both of you just remind me all the time, which I always know in my heart, that obviously here we're movie people, and I love movies. I've worked in movies, but poetry, just that one woman or one man reading her or his story, as you said, the soul and the identity of who that person is and what the place is that she or he's living in, and then the love of language. And you two both do that just in particulars and with supreme grace. And you're just incredible, both of you. You know, you've blessed our show, and to me, this is a sacred hour. And so you lift us all up. And regardless of what goes on in the external world, we have this communion, if you will, with us and with the people who are watching us. So thank you very much, Leonora Simonovis, forgive me, and Derek Kannemeyer. And next week, we have two wonderful poets with us, Patricia Clark and Sarah Dickinson Snyder. And now we're back to Jennifer Clymer, who is our leader, and she's just the best there is, and the crew who works and makes all this happen. They're the best they are. They're professionals, editors, writers, makeup, animation, producers, and they're just the best there are that are working behind the screen. So thank you all to the creative crew.
Thank you. Thank you both for sharing your prayer in the, or how did you put it? The prayer of self through language. It's beautiful. So please join us again soon. Harry, thank you so much for arranging all of this. We look forward to your hour next week. Coming up right now, we have Cinephiles live from the stage with a very special guest. The creator of Cinephiles is live on the stage as well. We're excited to welcome Rickley back. Okay, thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon.